Welcome back to the Let's Get Deep podcast, where we talk about Jesus, trauma, and the kind of character development nobody asked for. I'm Kalee Grace, and I'm coming out of a season where I rushed ahead of the Lord, and I had to suffer the consequences of that. But the Lord helped me fix it, and we are starting over. So let's get real for a second, though. Half the reason some of us are starting over is because we sprinted ahead of God like he was walking too slow. You know what I mean? Like that moment where you're like, God, you're taking forever. But don't worry, I'll just handle it. It's fine. Yeah. Sarah did that too in the Bible. God promised her a son, like a whole legacy with him. She waited and waited and waited. That son wasn't coming. And then she said, okay, this is taking too long. It's too late. Let me just do it myself. Like, I got it, God. Thanks. Chaos, tension, drama for everyone involved. It was not pretty. If you haven't read it, I recommend Genesis for the drama alone. But here's the part that we usually miss when we read that story. God didn't throw Sarah away for rushing him. He didn't throw her away even after she laughed in his face. He didn't say, wow, okay, never mind. No, he still fulfilled his promise. He still gave her Isaac. He still made her the mother of nations. Is anything too hard for the Lord? It says that in Genesis 18:14. Translation, you didn't ruin my plan. You just took the scenic route. And that scenic route was not very scenic, let me tell you. So if you rushed ahead, you married too fast, you trusted too quick, you accepted the job God didn't co-sign, or you jumped into something that now requires a full emotional detox, guess what? You're still not too far gone. You're not disqualified, and you're not too messed up. God has a whole history of fixing the messes his people created while rushing ahead of him. You can literally open the Bible to probably any page and see that. Here's what I need you to tattoo on your heart, though. Starting over doesn't mean God is done with you. Starting over doesn't mean you're a failure. Starting over means God is done letting you settle for less. Sarah had to wait longer than she wanted to, but that timing was not punishment. It was preparation and alignment. Rushing cost her peace and literally everyone else's peace, but it didn't cost her her destiny. She didn't lose what God promised her. God is literally the king of, you made it messy, but I'll make it meaningful. You derailed it, but I'll reroute it. And you ran ahead, but I'll walk you back into promise. So yes, starting over can feel like you're cleaning up your own spiritual car crash, but God doesn't hand out total destinies, and he also doesn't leave you alone in starting over. Revelation 21:5 still stands. Behold, I make all things new. Not some things, all things. The promise is still alive. The timeline is just getting rebooted. We're human. We want consistency, stability. And when God calls us to shift, it can feel scary and terrifying. But listen, sometimes God has to end your fake peace or the thing you thought you wanted because he was taking too long, so you can step into the real peace or the real promise or the thing he actually promised you. The Lord will fight for you. You need to only be still. It says that in Exodus 14:14. Still doesn't mean stuck. Still means surrender. Psalms 41:10 says, be still and know that I'm God. Literally surrender to God. Know that he's got it. Don't rush ahead of him. He can do it himself. He doesn't need you to pretend you're God, you know? Starting over, though, can often come with embarrassment. Like, people are going to judge me. My life looks like a mess. I didn't plan for this. I look like a failure. What are people going to think now? Newsflash, no one's keeping track except the people doing worse. No one cares. And God never once built someone's destiny around other people's opinions. David looked insane fighting Goliath. Noah looked delusional building a boat. Mary looked scandalous being pregnant before marriage. Even Jesus looked like a failure when he died on the cross. But God's moves only look messy until the miracle shows. 1 Samuel 16:7 says, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Starting over is redemption in motion. This isn't you going back to zero. This is God saying, we're not rebuilding the old structure. we're rebuilding something new. He literally promises in Joel 2:25, I will restore to you the years the locusts have eaten. And look, honestly, with the way these ladybugs have been invading Alabama lately, I'm starting to wonder if the locusts clocked out and the ladybugs picked up their shift, because they're everywhere. Like, everywhere, man. But, anyways, that verse means lost time isn't really lost, wasted pain isn't wasted, and God is the only one who can turn ruins into foundation, beauty from ashes. So, how do you actually start over biblically and practically? 1. Acknowledge what's dead. God told Samuel, how long will you mourn over Saul? I have rejected him. 1 Samuel 16:1. Don't get stuck in one place trying to resurrect what God is burying. 2. Let go before you see what's next. Abraham didn't get the where, he just got the go. So you got to trust God. 3. Start walking with what you have. Moses had a stick, David had a slingshot. You may have a journal that's filled with your testimony or your story, or a messy apartment but a willing heart, or a calendar full of mistakes that turned into lessons, a resilience you didn't ask for but now carry like armor. God can use all of that. Don't underestimate him. 4. Make a plan that fits your current manna, like daily provision, daily strength, daily direction. Matthew 6:11 says, give us this day our daily bread. Jesus didn't say yearly bread. He said daily, babe. Like, daily get a new word. Daily talk to him. Daily follow his will. Realign your heart. Die to yourself. Daily. Not once a year at Easter or Christmas. Every single day. God doesn't do abandonment arcs. Starting over can feel like God left you. And if you're anything like me, you've already owned that mistake. You've apologized to God in like 12 different ways, and then you finally gave him the steering wheel, or like, here, and surrendered. And yet it feels like heaven's on do not disturb, which is a big reason why you took the steering wheel back in the first place. You stepped out of that hurtful situation though that he pulled you from, and you completely walked away from what wasn't right and what you brushed ahead of him to do. And now you're just standing here like, okay, Lord, now what? I'm back realigned with what you said. I've walked out of that situation. Now what? And you get to the point that you're like, okay, God, I'm ready. What's next? And he's like, I know. And it may not look like he's moving, but I promise you, in ways that you can't see, he definitely is. He's not standing back watching you drown. He is parting something in front of you. And when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. That's what he says in Isaiah 43:2. He literally did not part the Red Sea for the Israelites when they were escaping Egypt until the last minute. They actually got so upset thinking, okay, well, we got out of Egypt just to now die here because there's no way out. And God was like, let me show you what I can do is the impossible. So, if he says he's going to be with us when we pass through the waters, he says not if we pass through, but when we pass through. It's inevitable. That means that the flood doesn't mean he's gone. It means he's guiding. God has like a way of shaping a new season long before you ever catch on. He already knows what he's going to do and what's coming. Opening doors that weren't even on your radar, like shifting careers, stirring purpose back up in your life, maybe opening doors to new ideas, even doing quiet heart work in the people who will matter in those chapters, still unfolding. And sometimes those people are completely new people in your life. And sometimes it's a familiar connection that needed time, growth, and a God-sized healing to finally meet you in that right moment. And one thing about the Lord, he knows how to prepare the opportunities and the people at the same time. So remember, there's no such thing as too late. And you're not behind. You're being repositioned. Starting over late in the Bible is biblically normal. And again, it's never too late. Like, Sarah didn't have her promise until she was like 90. And Moses didn't discover his calling until he was 80. And Ruth rebuilt her entire life from nothing. She had this whole life, and then it was taken from her, and she had to start over, and it was redeemed. Your timeline is not ruined. You're just stepping into alignment. The steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord. That is Psalm 37:23. Even the detours, even the hurt, even the things that should have destroyed you. The steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord. So, if you're standing at the edge of life that doesn't fit anymore, if you're tired, you're angry, numb, disappointed, spiritually confused, or you just walked away and you feel free but don't really know what's next, here's your sign. Start over. Not because you're strong, but because God is, and not because you know the way, but because He does. I'm going to remind you that Revelation 21:5 says, He makes all things new. This isn't the end. This is the door. Walk through it.